Distributed work, concentrated capabilities, organizational adaptation and economic diversification. Abstract. This article examines how organizations can leverage distributed work models to build concentrated capabilities that drive economic diversification and competitive advantage. As remote and hybrid work arrangements become normalized across industries, forward-thinking organizations are moving beyond logistical concerns to strategic capability development. Drawing on empirical research and organizational case studies, this analysis explores the relationship between workforce distribution and specialized capability concentration, revealing how intentional work design can enable both geographic flexibility and strategic skill clustering. The evidence suggests that organizations successfully balancing distributed work with capability concentration achieve greater innovation outputs, talent retention, and market adaptability. The article provides a framework for capability-focused distributed work design, offering actionable insights for executives navigating workforce transformation in a rapidly evolving global economy. The conversation about distributed work has evolved from if to how, with 58% of American workers having the option to work remotely at least part of the time. Pew Research Center. 2022. Organizations have moved beyond debating the viability of remote work to designing distributed work systems that create strategic advantage. While the pandemic accelerated this shift, economic diversification pressures, from technological disruption to geopolitical realignment, have made the strategic design of work distribution increasingly crucial. This article presents a capabilities-focused perspective on distributed work, rather than treating workforce distribution as merely a logistical or employee relations challenge. Forward-thinking organizations are using it to concentrate critical capabilities while distributing operational execution. This approach allows organizations to simultaneously achieve geographic flexibility and build differentiated capabilities essential for economic adaptation and diversification. The stakes are significant. Organizations that fail to develop distributed models that concentrate strategic capabilities risk talent drain, innovation stagnation, and competitive disadvantage in rapidly evolving markets. Conversely, those that master this balance can simultaneously access global talent pools while building the deep expertise clusters necessary for breakthrough innovation and market leadership. The distributed work capability landscape. Defining capability concentration in distributed contexts. Capability concentration refers to the intentional clustering of complementary skills, knowledge, and resources to develop organizational expertise that creates competitive advantage. Traditionally, capability concentration has been associated with physical co-location, the innovation clusters of Silicon Valley, or the financial expertise concentrated in global financial centers. In distributed work environments, capability concentration takes on new dimensions that transcend physical proximity. Distributed capability concentration involves the deliberate organization of complementary skills and knowledge assets across geographic boundaries through technology-enabled collaboration, specialized team structures, and intentional knowledge management systems. Unlike traditional capability building, which often relies on physical proximity and informal knowledge exchange, distributed capability concentration depends on explicit coordination mechanisms, digital collaboration infrastructures, and intentional relationship building. Tanriverdi. 2005. The capability concentration approach differs from typical remote work models in its emphasis on strategic skill organization rather than individual flexibility. While traditional remote work focuses on when and where individuals complete their tasks, capability concentration examines how distributed talent can be organized into coherent expertise clusters that drive innovation and adaptation. Prevalence, drivers, and distribution of capability-focused models. Recent research indicates that 79% of organizations are adopting some form of hybrid work arrangement, McKinsey. 2022, but fewer than 30% are strategically designing these arrangements around capability development. Organizations implementing capability-focused distributed models are concentrated in knowledge-intensive industries, technology, 47%, professional services, 38%, and financial services, 32%, though the approach is spreading to manufacturing, healthcare, and consumer goods. Boston Consulting Group. 2023. Key drivers of the capability concentration approach include talent scarcity in specialized domains, e.g., AI expertise, cybersecurity, need for rapid innovation in competitive markets, economic diversification, pressures in single industry regions, global expansion imperatives requiring local market knowledge, cost pressures necessitating distributed operations with centralized expertise. The distribution of capability-focused models varies significantly by organization size and geography. Large enterprises, 77%, more likely to implement structured capability concentration approaches than small and medium enterprises, 23%. Though the latter often practice informal versions of the same principles. Geographically, North American and European organizations lead informal capability concentration strategies, while Asian organizations more commonly implement hybrid models that maintain significant physical co-location requirements. Deloitte. 2022. Organizational and individual consequences of distributed capability concentration. Organizational performance impacts. The research suggests that strategic capability concentration within distributed work environments produces measurable performance advantages. Organizations implementing capability-focused distributed models report 37% higher innovation output measured by new product development and patent filings compared to organizations with either fully co-located or fully distributed models lacking capability focus. Boston Consulting Group. 2023. Financial performance metrics reveal similar patterns. A 3-year longitudinal study of 250 global organizations found that those employing capability concentration principles in distributed environments achieved 22% higher revenue growth and 18% higher profitability than industry peers. McKinsey. 2022. These performance advantages appear most pronounced in knowledge-intensive industries and during periods of market disruption or economic transition. The capability concentration approach also correlates with improved operational resilience. Organizations with distributed but concentrated capabilities demonstrated 41% faster recovery from supply chain disruptions and 29% more efficient responses to market shifts during the pandemic period. Deloitte. 2022. This resilience advantage stems from the combination of distributed operational execution with concentrated strategic decision-making capabilities. However, these performance benefits are not automatic. Organizations lacking clear capability identification or sufficient coordination mechanisms show performance decrements of 12 to 18% when implementing distributed models. Boston Consulting Group. 2023. This suggests that the success of distributed capability concentration depends on intentional design rather than emerging organically from remote work arrangements. Individual well-being and stakeholder impacts at the individual level. Capability-focused distributed work models show mixed but largely positive impacts. Employee engagement scores are 23% higher in organizations using capability concentration approaches compared to traditional remote work models, with particularly strong differences in measures of professional development and career growth. Gallup. 2023. Talent retention metrics reveal similar patterns, with capability-focused organizations reporting 34% lower voluntary turnover among high-performing employees compared to industry averages. LinkedIn. 2022. This retention advantage appears linked to increased professional development opportunities, clearer career pathways, and stronger professional identity formation within capability clusters. Work-life balance outcomes show more varied results. While 68% of employees in capability-focused organizations report satisfactory work-life balance, This represents only a modest improvement over traditional models, 65%. The data suggests that capability concentration can create pressure for constant collaboration and skill development that may offset some of the flexibility benefits of distributed work. Microsoft Work Trend Index 2022. For external stakeholders, capability concentration produces measurable benefits. Customer satisfaction scores are 17% higher in organizations employing distributed capability concentration compared to traditional models, with particular improvements in innovation responsiveness and problem-solving speed. Forrester 2022. Similarly, supplier and partner satisfaction metrics show 12% improvement, linked to clearer expertise identification and more consistent relationship management. Evidence-based organizational responses, strategic capability mapping and work design. Successful distributed capability concentration begins with strategic identification of which capabilities drive competitive advantage and require intentional cultivation. Research indicates that organizations with formal capability mapping processes achieve 28% higher performance outcomes from distributed work than those implementing remote work without capability identification. Harvard Business Review 2021. Effective approaches to capability mapping and design include capability criticality assessment, systematic evaluation of which capabilities most directly drive strategic outcomes, cross-functional consensus building on priority capabilities, regular reassessment as strategic priorities evolve, work interdependence analysis, detailed mapping of workflow dependencies between roles and functions, identification of which activities require synchronous collaboration versus asynchronous coordination. Documentation of knowledge transfer patterns within capability domains, technology capability alignment, selection of collaboration tools based on capability requirements rather than general preferences. Investment in specialized technology for high-priority capability domains, integration of capability-specific tools with enterprise-wide platforms. Microsoft's capability mapping initiative transformed its approach to distributed work by identifying 7 critical capability domains requiring concentrated expertise despite geographic distribution, rather than organizing teams primarily by product line. Microsoft reorganized around capability clusters with distributed team members but concentrated expertise development. The company implemented specialized collaboration environments for each capability domain, with machine learning and cloud infrastructure capabilities receiving the most intensive coordination mechanisms. This approach contributed to Microsoft's 31% revenue growth in cloud services during a period of significant market disruption. Structural alignment and coordination mechanisms. Research indicates that organizational structure significantly impacts distributed capability development. Organizations that realign reporting relationships and team structures around capability domains achieve 26% higher innovation outputs than those maintaining traditional functional hierarchies in distributed contexts. MIT Sloan Management Review 2022. Effective structural alignment approaches include capability-based team structures, formation of cross-functional teams around specific capability domains, clear capability ownership and development responsibilities, balanced representation of both expertise, depth and application breadth, formal coordination mechanisms, scheduled synchronization points for distributed team members, documentation standards that make implicit knowledge explicit, decision rights frameworks, clarifying authority boundaries, network facilitation processes, community of practice development around key capabilities, expertise directories and talent visibility systems, formal and informal connection mechanisms between related capability domains. Goldman Sachs implemented a distributed capability concentration model for its quantitative investment strategies by creating 8 capability clusters spanning global locations but maintaining tight coordination through formal mechanisms. Each capability cluster combines core expertise, algorithm development, data science, with application domain knowledge, market microstructure, macro trends. The bank implemented a 3-tier coordination system with daily digital stand-ups, weekly capability reviews, and monthly cross-capability integration sessions. This approach enabled Goldman to maintain concentrated quantitative capabilities despite geographic distribution, contributing to a 42% growth in algorithmic trading revenue while reducing real estate costs by 28%. Knowledge management and learning systems. The research consistently identifies knowledge management as critical to distributed capability concentration. Organizations with structured knowledge management processes show 31% higher capability development outcomes than those relying on informal knowledge sharing in distributed environments. Academy of Management Journal. 2020. Effective knowledge management approaches include explicit knowledge codification, documentation standards tailored to capability domains, knowledge repositories with consistent taxonomies, automated knowledge capture from collaboration platforms, tacit knowledge transfer mechanisms, structured mentoring programs connecting experts with developing talent, regular capability-focused learning sessions, periodic in-person immersion experiences for distributed team members, learning measurement systems, capability maturity tracking at individual and team levels, knowledge sharing metrics integrated into performance evaluation, regular capability assessments against external benchmarks. Mayo Clinic revolutionized its distributed clinical expertise model through sophisticated knowledge management systems that enable capability concentration despite geographic distribution. The healthcare system identified 14 critical clinical capability domains requiring concentrated expertise development while allowing distributed service delivery. For each capability domain, Mayo established a dedicated knowledge management team, standardized documentation protocols, and regular virtual case reviews. The system enabled Mayo to maintain concentrated capabilities in specialized treatments while distributing care delivery across its network, resulting in 24% better clinical outcomes in complex cases compared to regional averages and 18% higher clinician retention in rural locations. Leadership and culture adaptation. Leadership approaches and cultural norms significantly impact distributed capability development. Organizations with leadership models specifically adapted for distributed capability concentration report 27% higher employee engagement and 23% faster capability development than those applying traditional leadership approaches to distributed environments. Harvard Business Review. 2022. Effective leadership and culture adaptation approaches include distributed leadership development, leadership capability building focused on virtual team management, assessment of digital collaboration competencies in leadership selection, peer coaching networks for distributed leaders, cultural norm establishment, explicit articulation of collaboration expectations, recognition systems highlighting effective distributed capability building, storytelling that reinforces capability concentration successes, trust-building mechanisms, transparency in decision-making and priority setting, consistent application of performance standards across locations, investment in relationship development between distributed team members. Unilever implemented a comprehensive leadership development program specifically designed for its distributed innovation capability model. The consumer goods company identified innovation management as a critical capability requiring concentrated expertise despite geographic distribution. Unilever created a specialized leadership curriculum for innovation team leaders covering virtual team management, digital collaboration tools, and cross-cultural communication. The company also established clear cultural norms for innovation teams, including digital-first documentation, asynchronous decision processes, and regular virtual collaboration sessions. This approach enabled Unilever to reduce new product development cycles by 31% while maintaining innovation teams across 12 countries, contributing to market share growth in 8 of 10 product categories during a period of significant industry disruption. Building long-term capability resilience, dynamic capability reallocation as market conditions and strategic priorities evolve. Organizations must develop systems for reallocating resources and attention across capability domains. Research indicates that organizations with formal capability reallocation processes demonstrate 34% higher adaptability to market disruptions than those with static capability investments. McKinsey. 2022. Dynamic capability reallocation involves establishing systematic processes for monitoring capability relevance, shifting resources between capability domains, and accelerating capability development in emerging priority areas. This requires both analytical tools to identify shifting capability needs and organizational flexibility to realign resources without triggering destructive internal competition. Successful organizations implement quarterly capability portfolio reviews that examine both internal capability development metrics and external market signals. These reviews inform resource allocation decisions, including talent movement between capability domains, technology investment prioritization, and learning resource distribution. The most advanced practitioners develop scenario-based capability plans that enable rapid pivoting as market conditions change. Cross-boundary knowledge integration, while capability concentration provides depth of expertise. Competitive advantage increasingly requires integration across capability domains. Organizations that systematically integrate knowledge across distributed capability clusters show 29% higher innovation outputs than those maintaining capability silos. MIT Sloan Management Review. 2023. Effective knowledge integration requires both structural mechanisms and cultural enablers. Structurally, integration roles that span capability boundaries provide formal coordination, while shared tools and platforms enable visibility across domains. Culturally, recognition systems that reward cross-capability collaboration and learning objectives that require boundaries spanning encourage integration behaviors. Leading organizations implement regular cross-capability forums that bring together representatives from different expertise domains to address complex challenges. These forums follow structured problem-solving methodologies that leverage diverse perspectives while maintaining efficient decision processes. The most sophisticated practitioners supplement these formal mechanisms with talent rotation programs that build integrative thinkers capable of translating between capability domains. Continuous capability evolution in rapidly changing markets. Capabilities must evolve continuously rather than through periodic transformation efforts. Organizations with continuous capability evolution processes demonstrate 38% higher long-term performance than those implementing episodic capability building initiatives. Deloitte. 2023. Continuous capability evolution involves embedding learning and adaptation into daily work rather than treating capability development as a separate activity. This requires tight feedback loops that capture market signals, customer needs, and internal performance data to inform ongoing capability refinement. It also demands learning infrastructure that makes knowledge acquisition and application frictionless for team members. Leading organizations implement real-time capability monitoring dashboards that track both capability utilization, how frequently expertise is applied, and capability impact, what outcomes result from application. These dashboards inform both strategic resource allocation and individual development priorities. The most advanced practitioners integrate capability evolution metrics into their performance management systems, creating direct accountability for continuous learning and adaptation. Conclusion: as distributed work becomes the norm rather than the exception, organizational success increasingly depends on strategic capability concentration rather than mere operational distribution. The evidence clearly indicates that organizations achieving this balance, distributing work while concentrating capabilities, outperform both traditional co-located models and distributed approaches lacking capability focus. The path forward requires intentional design across multiple dimensions. Organizations must systematically identify which capabilities drive competitive advantage, implement structures and coordination mechanisms that enable concentration despite distribution, establish knowledge management systems that make expertise accessible, and adapt leadership approaches to the unique demands of distributed capability building. The most successful organizations view distributed capability concentration not as a static arrangement but as a dynamic system requiring continuous evolution. They implement mechanisms for reallocating resources across capability domains as priorities shift. Integrate knowledge across capability boundaries to address complex challenges. And embed continuous learning into daily work rather than treating capability development as a separate activity. For executives navigating workforce transformation, the imperative is clear: move beyond logistical concerns about where and when work happens to strategic questions about how distributed work can enable capability concentration and economic diversification. Those who master this approach will build organizations capable not just of surviving in uncertain times, but of thriving through continuous adaptation and innovation.